September is historically a weak month for Bitcoin in particular, the currency falling at least 7% the last 4 years in that month. I want to bring in tech analyst and CoinDesk Chief of Staff of Content, Pete Pachal. Pete, an old friend, it's great to see you as always. Let's start with crypto. A lot of value, a lot of wealth has been wiped out this year. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, so, I mean, volatile asset is volatile. It's kind of like what my general conventional wisdom is on crypto, and that's kind of like, duh. But it is one of these things where now crypto, I think we can essentially put to bed a notion that it's a fundamentally different market type of asset and might move in sort of opposite directions as the overall market. I think that's over the past couple of years, they've sort of started to align more and more with traditional markets. So you see it particularly traditional risk assets. So that's kind of like what a big chunk of what we're seeing now. Like you see that the news coming out of the Fed about inflation tends to affect crypto in similar ways as the rest of the market. I mean, that's probably a big reason why August has not been a great month for crypto this year, and that the Fed has signaled it's going to be more and more hawkish on inflation, and there's not going to be much of a respite in those markets. So those narratives about, you know, the crypto being this totally different type of asset, I think we can put those to bed. If anything, crypto is Bitcoin in particular, it's a very narrative-driven asset. So you've just been talking about September and how it's traditionally a bad month for Bitcoin. Really, there's probably overall market reasons for that, like people coming back from vacation, sort of big expenses, cleaning up portfolios, the end of the fiscal year. But really, it's more of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If everyone's saying that Bitcoin is going to have a bad September, I mean, it's probably going to have a bad September just based on the psychology.
Well, but Pete, at the same time, you got to be honest here that when it comes to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, look, is Bitcoin going away? No, but we're in a higher interest rate environment. Those are continue to go up, and that makes even not just Bitcoin but other risky investments, a lot of these technology stocks, they do get affected by that. So, but yeah, to your point, you know, Bitcoin, I mean, certainly it is certainly a very interesting thing to talk about when it comes to the markets. I got to stay with tech with you with this issue with Snap. The stock rallied, but they're laying off about 20% of their workforce, and they're canceling original shows, in-app games, other projects. 2 senior executives are going to Netflix. And then you've got Netflix that is now trying to get ads for their subscription. Pete, your take on both of those stories? It's a different game now for both of those companies.
Well, with Snap, I mean, it's funny. Whenever I talk about Snap, I always have to kind of remember why it exists, and because it really doesn't have that same, you know, clear purpose that many other social networks have, like its peers, like TikTok, like Facebook, like Twitter, like LinkedIn. All of those sort of seem to have a clear purpose. Whereas Snap, it's kind of this social network that, you know, just kind of is there. It's almost like extra. It's very similar to Instagram, but has sort of its own audience. Now, that said, I think I don't want to take too much away from Snap in that over the past few years, it was essentially left for dead when Instagram started eating its lunch, and it's sort of found its audience. But think about this: the overall digital advertising market is obviously getting cut back. So if you have advertising spend, if you have a digital advertising budget and you're looking at all these networks, where are you going to cut? And I think that sort of fundamental question of like, what is Snap, what is it for, who is its audience? You know, you probably, it's one of the first things you go for in your budget, and then that's why sort of my read anyway, on why the earnings and the returns haven't been quite so much and have been a little bit disappointing. So, you know, they're actually doing a very smart move. Now, it's a deep cut when you say you're doing 20% of your workforce,
right,
but they're clearly very focused on making sure that that bottom line doesn't keep going further and further down, so that it becomes an existential threat for them. They're hunkering down. They're here to weather the storm.
And the stock is up.
And I think that's kind of what you're seeing in a lot of these tech these stocks.
You got to come back and talk about Netflix, and we didn't get to Apple with the 14 coming out. You know that I always ask you about the new iPhone, so I'm just going to have to, you know, email you about that. Pete Pachal, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here. All right.
See you soon.